while I was being strangled to death by the Ghost King. My brother was in the sky, watching me die with cold indifference. He just wanted to teach his useless burden of a sister a lesson. A second before the ghost's claws snapped my neck, I suddenly saw bullet comments floating across my vision. It turned out I was a character in this cultivation novel. A cannon fodder burden who wouldn't survive the first 3 chapters just because I accidentally trespassed and let the heroine escape. The enraged Ghost King was about to devour me whole. But instead of heart-wrenching pain, I heard the Ghost King's aggrieved inner thoughts. Am I really that ugly? Why does everyone hate me? Seeing the young man's eyes grow increasingly crimson, I hurriedly blurted out, I like you. I only came here to confess my feelings to you. Please be with me, senior. He froze. The audience was stunned too. Holy crap. The male lead schemes are nothing compared to this girl's sudden wit. She actually confessed her love to the most brutal and heartless demon king in the world? She called him senior? He's lived for far too long. Thousands of years older, how does that not count as a senior? Man, you're fast. Wow, I really can't watch this anymore. This side character is definitely going to be torn to pieces. My heart is racing. My face was frozen in fear, not even daring to itch. Yumiao regretted why she didn't listen to her brother's advice and stayed home obediently. The communication talisman on the ground was flickering. The message showed it had been an hour, but there was still no reply. My heart felt a bitter, desperate ache. I weakly felt like crying again. Brother seems to have truly abandoned me. The male lead only wants his sister to be a bit stronger. That's why he's staying away on purpose. After all, they're both adults now. The sister still clings to him like a child every day. Anyone would get exhausted by that. Yeah, the brother is a ruthless genius swordsman. He bears the mission of saving the world. He's incredibly busy every day as it is, yet he still has to deal with his sister's mess. He got tired of it long ago. The sister's current mistake of entering the demon cave was actually a setup by the male lead. He just wanted to give her a small lesson. Once she's hurt and knows pain, she won't wander around aimlessly anymore. He originally set up a lowest tier demon. It wasn't supposed to threaten her life, but he didn't expect the great demon king would happen to be here to catch the escaping heroine today. Can only say, have a safe trip to the afterlife, sister. Wait. Why are you guys feeling pity now? I think it's better if this loser dies. Living would only hold the male lead back anyway. They were right. Without me as a burden, my brother could live a better life. Tears I had held back for so long could no longer be suppressed and began to fall. Warm teardrops. One by one, they hit the demon king's pale, cold fingertips. His palm paused. His narrow eyes were dark and unreadable. The devil hated weak tears. Just when I thought I was about to be strangled to death, he suddenly let go. He gazed at my flushed, suffocating face, and smiled. Precious air rushed back into my lungs. Before my brain could react, my primal survival instinct forced a response from my throat. You want to be with me? I took a deep breath. I gritted my teeth. His phoenix eyes narrowed slightly. He scrutinized me unhurriedly, from head to toe, leaving nothing out. I subconsciously tensed my body, but was caught off guard by his satisfied inner thought. Her little face is all red. So shy she doesn't even dare to look. She truly is my little fangirl. I clenched my fists. My face turned even redder. What is your name? Yumiao, I whispered, looking down. My voice was trembling. This was the name my brother gave me. The man raised a handsome eyebrow. His crimson eyes were strikingly bright in the dark. They burned with an inexplicable pleasure and excitement. He pressed his hand on my head. Looking down, he said matter-of-factly, your name is Meow Meow. My Meow Meow. To everyone's surprise, I wasn't torn into pieces. Instead, I was taken back to the demon's nest by the young demon king. Along the way, the boy's eyes were filled with smiles. He seemed to be in an excellent mood. Meanwhile, I was held tightly in his arms. Body stiff as a board. I didn't even dare to take a loud breath out of nervousness. I could only keep staring at the bullet comments to understand. It turns out this world is a toxic romance novel. My brother, Pei Jingjue, is the male lead, a cultivation genius, the future #1 immortal swordsman, and I am the cannon fodder sister who was always causing trouble for him. Because I wandered into the cave and let the trapped heroine go. The enraged great demon king, Chili, should have killed me on the spot. Literally devoured, skin and bone, until nothing was left. When my brother finally sensed something was wrong and went to the cave to find me, there was nothing left but a broken communication talisman. He was heartbroken. He swore he would kill the evil ghost. Chili, to avenge me. The heroine, Chen Yongmiao, felt extremely guilty too. She took the initiative to follow my brother to comfort and heal him. The two fought side by side, developed feelings over time, and finally combined their powers to destroy the villain. A happy ending for everyone. But I, who should have been devoured alive by Chili, suddenly deviated from the plot and confessed to him. Wait, I have questions now. She wasn't eaten? How will the male lead seek revenge then? And isn't the villain only obsessed with the heroine? Why is he holding the sister now? What's going on? Wait, I get it. The villain must be using the sister as a substitute for the heroine. If you look closely, not only do they look a bit alike, but they are both named Meow Meow. That actually makes sense. But if that's the case, won't the entire plot collapse from now on? No. I still want to see the sunshine heroine, redeeming the broken, cold male lead. Heh, the bullet comments worries are completely unnecessary. The plot definitely hasn't collapsed. They don't know that. Although the devil holding me has smiling eyes. He's boredly complaining in his mind. Meow meow is too thin, the texture must be terrible. She'll taste much better after I fatten her up. No one understands the despair I felt at the moment Chi Lee's Adam's apple rolled. I used my last trace of spiritual energy to try and message my brother again. Save me one more time. This is the last time, I'll be good from now on. I'll never annoy you again. I just want to live. The communication talisman did not light up again. It's been half an hour. That timid, clingy sister of his hadn't sent a single voice message. Pei Jinhua frowned slightly. He felt inexplicably unaccustomed to it. Usually, Yumiao's messages would flood in like the rising tide. The jade talisman would flash every now and then, and before he even opened them, he knew they would be her usual long-winded nonsense. Brother, I bought the limited edition sword tassel from Qingyu Pavilion. It was worth waiting in line since dawn. It's a shimmering silver white. It matches your Sushiwa sword perfectly. I already put it at home. I'm going up the mountain to find herbs today. Senior brother Ingyan said. I'm the only one who hasn't finished the alchemy assignment. Don't worry. I brought a whole bag of thunder and fire talismans this time. And my fire technique has improved a lot. I can definitely beat those stupid young demons. If I still can't beat them, then I'll just have to call you to beat them up for me. And he didn't reply to a single one. Hearing the last sentence, he felt helpless and tired. She was always so heartless, relying on his protection to become more and more unscrupulous, but he couldn't keep revolving around her forever. It was fine when they were young, depending on each other, only caring about one another. But now the three realms are in turmoil. Demons are wreaking havoc. He has taken on great responsibilities with countless lives to save. How could he keep looking after her whims? Ingyan was right. He can't keep spoiling her like this. It's good for her to suffer a bit. Only through pain will she learn her lesson and stop running around every day, slaying the last high-tier beast in Yuanshui town. Pei Jinhua sheathed his sword, Sushiwe, expressionlessly. He sat beside the pile of beast corpses, his eyes cold and numb. Nearby, many villagers soon gathered around, crying in gratitude. Each of them kept muttering thanks, saying the immortal saved them, and they could never repay his great kindness. Hearing these words used to make him happy and warm, but now he had heard them too many times. His heart didn't feel a single ripple anymore. He didn't even bother to respond. Anyway, after they were done thanking him, they would happily go home with their families. Pei Jinhua closed his eyes indifferently, just wanting to rest in silence for a while. When everyone had dispersed, and the surroundings fell silent again, he finally opened his eyes. The sun had already set. Cooking smoke rose from the town. Only one little girl was still kneeling before him, bowing. She carefully pushed forward a bowl of hot porridge, leaning down and whispering her thanks. Thank you, immortal, for saving my brother. It's thanks to your timely arrival. Otherwise he would have been bitten to death by that beast. My brother and I have nothing valuable. This mushroom and meat porridge was made by my brother himself. It tastes very good. He didn't make a sound, just lowered his eyes coldly, watching the little girl bow seriously 3 more times. Hearing her brother waving and calling for her, she quickly wiped her tears and ran back. Her small figure bounced, and she threw herself into her brother's arms, light and joyful. At that moment, Pei Jinhua suddenly thought of Pei Yumiao. Every time he came home from a mission, no matter how late, she would always be waiting eagerly at the door, and would suddenly throw herself at him just like that. Her thin, trembling body would cling to him tightly, while her muffled, aggrieved voice rang in his ear. Brother, you came back so late, and didn't even send me a message. I was at home imagining all sorts of things, worrying if you couldn't beat the monster. But at that point, she would suddenly catch herself, spit twice, and put on a cautious expression. Look at the nonsense I'm saying. How could my brother possibly lose? She would look up at him, her eyes full of shining stars, proud and smug. My brother is the greatest cultivator in the world. But when she saw his bone-deep wounds, her smile would instantly freeze on her face. While applying medicine, she would cry weakly. Since you picked me up and brought me home, you have to look after me for a lifetime. Not a day, hour, or moment less. So you absolutely aren't allowed to go and die. At least you can't die in a worse way than me. His sister just couldn't leave his side for a moment. Pei Jinhua chuckled to himself unconsciously. The setting sun hung in the west. He rose swiftly, flying on his sword back home. It's getting dark. If he got back late, she'd be nagging him for ages again. The porridge was placed in his storage space. Sushiwe pierced through the air. The silver-white light followed closely, always tailing him like a shadow. Step by step, he and Yumiao would never be apart. As he approached the front door, Pei Jinhua saw that familiar, slender figure from afar. Her hands were covering her face, and her body was trembling. She was crying while waiting for him again. Her clothes were all dirty too. As expected, she must have failed in the demon cave and escaped back in a pathetic state, right? She'll definitely throw a huge fit later. I've wronged you, meow meow. He stood behind her and called out softly. Seeing her back instantly stiffen, he couldn't help but curl his lips into a smile. He leisurely counted down in his mind. 3, 2, 1. She threw herself onto him just as expected, holding him tightly. But when he saw that tearful face, Pei Jinhua froze. His usually indifferent eyes rarely showed a trace of bewilderment. It wasn't his sister. It was his new junior sister, Jin Yongmiao. Senior brother, I'm sorry. She couldn't stop gasping for air. It's my fault, I'm useless. I couldn't save your sister. Although she stammered, the meaning was very clear. She said Yumiao entered the cave by mistake, was caught by a demon, and she tried to save her, but was no match for the enemy. When she was lying semi-conscious at the entrance, she saw that the demon had already bitten Yumiao's neck, and was devouring her whole right before her eyes. Dead? How is that possible? Pei Jinhua frowned impatiently. He pushed Jin Yongmiao aside and strode into the house. He thought calmly. This must be his sister throwing a tantrum on purpose. When he left this morning, she was begging him to come back early tonight. She said aggrievedly that she hadn't eaten his handmade fish stew in a long time. Ever since you picked up the sword, you haven't touched the stove. I wake up early and stay up late making breakfast for you. After drawing talismans all day, I come back to make dinner, and you won't even let me order out. You insist on eating what I cook. Your sister is so tired she's getting as thin as a bamboo pole. She had gritted her teeth and shaken his neck back and forth. I don't care. You must come back early today. And make me that Christian carp stew. Otherwise, I'll put laxatives in your breakfast from now on. Even when she lost her temper, she was like a kitten showing its claws. Soft and harmless, even with the laxative threat. Pei Jinhua had smiled dismissively while drinking his porridge. He was already immune to all poisons. Stupid sister, you're not a child anymore. There should be a limit to your tantrums. When he pushed open the door, his voice was unusually cold and hard. That little ghost in the demon cave was something he and Ing Yen had specifically wounded. Before tossing it in, he even ground down its only dangerous fangs. It could at most leave a few scratches on her. It absolutely couldn't kill anyone. She really has a big temper. Before, she would at most cry and make a scene. Now she actually dared to rope in the junior sister to lie together. She really has been spoiled rotten. Pei Jinhua was angry in his heart. He took the carp and tofu he just bought and sealed them in the deepest part of his storage space. Still want to eat fish stew? Dream on. He'd let her go hungry for the night as a lesson. But after searching the dark, quiet house several times, even the cellar that hadn't been opened in ages, he used his spiritual sense to check every corner. He found no trace of his sister. Pei Jinhua closed his eyes, trying hard to suppress an inexplicable agitation. Pei Yumiao must be doing this for revenge. He thought his sister was the pettiest person. Since he ignored her cry for help, she was deliberately disappearing to spite him. It must be that his sister was the person who feared death most in the world. Whenever she went out alone, she carried more life-saving talismans than anyone. How could she possibly die? Pei Jinhua looked up coldly at Jin Yongmiao, who had been following him cautiously. His sister had no friends in the Qinglu sect. Jin Yongmiao was the only one, and before she joined the sect, his sister was isolated, always walking all by herself. Others would often mock Yumiao, calling her a nepotism hire, who struggled even to light a simple fire, yet had the nerve to attend alchemy classes every day. If it weren't for her genius brother, she wouldn't even be qualified to be a servant in the sect. No one wanted to sit next to her in class. When she gathered the courage to ask questions, she was mocked. Yumiao usually couldn't stand the slightest grievance, but when her fellow disciples ridiculed her, she didn't seem to notice at all. She'd just lean back on her desk and focus on studying those talisman recipes. She didn't even complain when she got home. It wasn't until he brought it up himself that she was startled for a moment and laughed it off heartlessly. Well, what they say isn't wrong. The Qinglu sect only wanted to take you, right? If it weren't for your firm stance, saying if they didn't bring me along, you wouldn't join the sect either. They wouldn't have agreed to take me. I'm so weak. It's only natural that no one wants to team up with me. It's fine, brother. I'm already satisfied just being by your side. Having you is enough for me. Yumiao threw herself into his arms again. Just like those days when they depended on each other. She held him tightly, clinging to her only support. Even as she grew up, Yumiao's world remained very small. Her brother was still all she needed. Your sister is so good at playing the victim. When his fellow disciple, Ing Yen, heard about this, he looked completely speechless. She's making you feel guilty so you'll spend more time with her. You say she's a coward who's afraid of death, but doesn't she still love running around everywhere? Then when she runs into trouble, she calls you to save her with that pitiful act. It's just to get your attention on purpose. It's too selfish. You shouldn't spoil her like this. We follow the path of emotionless cultivation. We must put the world and all living beings first. We can't let personal feelings cloud our resolve. Ing Yan was an orphan, having no family since childhood. His words were very blunt. If you can't get past your sister, you can forget about ever ascending in this lifetime. He was right. He couldn't let his mind be disturbed so easily anymore. Pei Jinzhua raised his eyes coldly, staring at Chen Yongmiao, who was still wiping her tears. Junior sister, please tell Yumiao. If she continues this unreasonable behavior, she doesn't need to come home anymore. As soon as his cold, harsh words fell, the person before him froze instantly. Pei Jinzhua expected to see panic on her accomplice's face. But Chen Yongmiao's tears continued to fall. Looking at him, her eyes only held a very strange expression. It looked like pity. Pei Jinzhua frowned. Before he could think about it, he heard Chen Yongmiao speak again, her trembling voice still unable to hide her grief. Senior brother, Yumiao won't be coming back. He watched her slowly take out a broken cord from her storage space. A hacked communication jade. His pupils shrank. He recognized it almost at a single glance. It was her 18th birthday gift. At the time, she had held this little toy that barely had any spiritual energy. Treating it like a precious treasure, she couldn't put it down, carrying it with her everywhere she went, refusing to let a single speck of dust touch it. I have to take good care of every single thing my brother gives me. You'll definitely ascend in the future and live for millions of years as an immortal lord. When a mortal like me reaches the end of my life, these things will have to join me in my grave as a sacrifice for our love. A sacrifice? Pei Jinzhua had slowly repeated that somewhat ambiguous word. The girl paused, and then her entire face turned red. She covered her face tightly, making some inexplicable squealing noises, before stammering to correct herself, funeral. As funeral objects. Her ears were incredibly red, yet she continued to mutter stubbornly, oops, a slip of the tongue. I meant for it to be buried with me. He smiled carelessly, too lazy to see through her clumsy acting. Some sentiments didn't need to be clearly defined. After all, regardless of the type of affection, Yumiao would always be devoted to him. But now, the communication jade she said she'd take to her grave was broken into pieces. The jade was splattered with filthy mud and dried, dark red bloodstains. As if afraid he wouldn't believe her, Chen Yongmiao stepped forward and personally handed the jade to him. Letting him see it clearly, Pei Jinzhua bowed his head in a daze. The top swordsman, who never faltered, even when facing the most powerful demons, could not stop his hands from trembling at this moment. The moment his fingertips touched the jade slip, the unsent voice message, stored inside, was immediately played back. It was Yumiao's panicked voice calling for help. Brother, save me. She spoke very quickly and urgently, but every word was crystal clear. Junior sister and I encountered a high-level ghost demon. Its cultivation is at least 1,000 years old. Junior sister is seriously injured. I'm carrying her on my back and running out. I just killed a minor demon. And I've used up all my talismans. I'm running out of strength now. Brother, please hurry. The recording stopped abruptly there. She was caught. Yumiao was captured. She used the last of her strength to push me off the cliff. When I groggily opened my eyes, I saw the ghost demon biting her neck. I wanted to draw my sword, but I couldn't move at all. I could only watch helplessly as the enraged demon devoured her completely. Chen Yongmiao recounted every detail of the tragedy word by word. She grabbed him, crying and apologizing. It's my fault, brother. It's because I'm useless. I couldn't save Yumiao. If only I were stronger. Pei Jinzhua remained motionless throughout. He clutched the jade slip in a trance, his knuckles turning white with force. Suddenly, he pushed her aside, turned without a word, and walked into his sister's room. As usual, he lit every candle. Yumiao was afraid of the dark. Every time she waited for him to come home, she would make the room bright and warm. Then, she'd guard a table full of dinner, leaning against the window, looking longingly in the direction he would return from. Chen Yongmiao stood by the door, watching in silence as her senior brother went into the kitchen and brought out dish after dish onto the table. Crucian carp soup and wild vegetable cakes, Yumiao's two favorite things. Back when they lived in the village and couldn't afford meat, he would catch the fish, and she would gather the vegetables with just a bit of rice donated by neighbors. They would barely fill their stomachs. Later, when he rose to fame in the cultivation world and had money, Yumiao tasted all the delicacies of the world. Yet she still loved his handmade fish soup and vegetable cakes most, always begging him to make them again. He found it troublesome, so he would always brush her off, saying next time. This time, he truly remembered. The fish soup was placed in the very center. Pei Jinzhua picked up a spoon and filled her special little peach-patterned bowl. The vegetable cakes were shaped into the flowers she liked. But this time until the soup went cold and the cakes turned soggy, no one happily hugged him and shouted, "My brother is truly the best to me." He lowered his eyes, only then realizing he was already covered in tears. The tears fell drop by drop into the bowl, and the scene before him blurred and shattered. The young swordsman closed his eyes and actually coughed up a mouthful of blood. He pressed hard against his surging heart, filled with agonizing regret. If only he had rushed to her the first time she called for help. If only he hadn't found her bothersome and had come home earlier to cook her a meal. If only he had more patience to accompany her. Would things be different now? In a daze, Pei Jinzhua grasped his sword, Su Shiwei. He had killed many demons in human form. He knew exactly how to deliver a lethal blow. Just like this, aiming for the throat. And then piercing through. Senior brother. A sharp burst of energy suddenly struck his wrist, deflecting the blade. The sharp edge barely grazed the side of his neck. He was pinned to the ground. Pei Jinzhua raised his eyes in a daze, his gaze numb and hollow. He was just a step away from following Yu Miao in death, but the person beside him held him tightly. She covered his bleeding wound, her powerless weeping looking just like Yu Miao's. Senior brother. You can't die. She cried out. That ghost demon is still alive. He is still causing havoc. Who else in this world can avenge Yu Miao? Senior brother, please, calm down. I will help you find that demon. Your sword shouldn't be pointed at yourself. You must live. At the very least, live for Yu Miao. At least for Miao Miao. Chen Yongmiao's last words were like a heavy hammer, smashing into Pei Jinzhua's chaotic mind. He stared blankly at the ceiling beams, and suddenly heard the wind chimes Yu Miao hung by the window, ringing in the night breeze. A short, sharp ring. As if his sister was also agreeing with those words. That's right. Yu Miao is very petty. If I don't avenge her, she'll chase me and nag even in the heavens. Pei Jinzhua closed his eyes and gripped Su Shiwei once more. He didn't notice. The moment he stood up, the sorrowfully weeping Chen Yongmiao suddenly paused, and the corner of her mouth quirked up almost imperceptibly. Do you recognize that ghost demon? He gripped Su Shiwei tightly, holding the sword tassel, and spoke in a hoarse voice. It was no longer bright. Chen Yongmiao stared at him without blinking, saying every word clearly. Ghost King Qili. He has plagued the mortal world for thousands of years. He is vicious and brutal, specializing in devouring infants and women. My family was also killed by him. Senior brother, you must slay him with your own hands. Why aren't you eating? Don't humans all eat this? The man sitting opposite me rested his chin on one hand. His blood-red eyes stared at the untouched food in front of me. His furrowed brows indicated he was very displeased. Could it be he also thinks my cooking is terrible? How is that possible? I specifically went to the mortal world to learn culinary arts. Others might have no taste, but doesn't Miao Miao like me? If she likes me but won't eat my food, could she be lying to me? The moment he narrowed his eyes, I immediately picked up my chopsticks and grabbed a piece from the plate, a black, charred mass that I couldn't even identify. I wasn't even sure if it could be called food, because its appearance was, how should I say, a bit hideous. Perhaps I really am a coward, to be terrified of a lump of food. But under Qili's intense gaze, I grit my teeth, and finally summoned the courage to take a bite. In the next second, the hideous-looking food actually let out a shrill, agonizing scream. My whole body jolted, and I instinctively threw it away. Unluckily, it landed right in the lap of the demon, who had been watching me. He slowly lowered his eyes, tilted his head, and stared expressionlessly at the squealing piece of meat. His aura became suffocatingly cold. The screaming meat was heartlessly crushed to a pulp. Fresh blood splattered all over Qili's hand. He remained indifferent, his cold red eyes staring at me again. Just as I thought I was dead and my heart was racing, his inner voice rang out again. Oh, hey, it turns out it wasn't cooked through. No wonder Miao Miao wouldn't eat it. Damn demon meat. Daring to play dead to trick me into turning it black. I thought the fire was too high and it was charred. Tough to eat indeed. He gave a cold snort, lowered his head to wipe the blood off his hand, and when he looked at me again, his lips curled inexplicably. But Miao Miao really does love me. To make me happy. She was even willing to eat this raw piece of demon meat. I'm so touched. I must cook for her every single day from now on. Qili looked at the plate in front of me, smiling with pure delight. Forget it, that meat was indeed poorly chosen. I didn't control the heat well just now. I'll go get a fresh heart for you. Miao Miao, be good. Wait a little longer. He reached out and ruffled my hair. His raspy voice intentionally softened. The demon's long, cold fingers stroked my head over and over. He used the same right hand that had just crushed the meat. I closed my eyes, desperately suppressing my tremors, forcing myself to forget the disgusting and terrifying scene I'd just witnessed. I nodded to him, acting submissive and obedient. Only then did the demon leave, humming a song in satisfaction. Hearing the lock click shut, I finally let out a huge sigh of relief. My tense limbs immediately went limp, and I collapsed weakly against the door. The bullet screen before me continued to refresh. LMFAO, the villain went to the mortal world to steal food again. He used to do this to raise the heroine, learning culinary arts from mortals every day. Since he's a demon and can't see the sun, he can only sneak into kitchens at night. He scared that poor old lady into thinking she'd met a hungry ghost. Luckily, the villain doesn't eat the elderly. He just fiercely snatched a few bowls of warm porridge and strutted away. Although the old lady survived, Chili was so annoyed at being caught that he threw something into her pot. He smashed that rusty pot with a gold bar. Truly wicked, haha. Wait, did I see that right? A gold bar? Isn't that just giving her money? Where's the wickedness in that? The person above is being swayed by his looks again. The villain doesn't know the value of mortal money. To him, gold is no different from a rock. He was deliberately bullying the old lady. But did you see the old lady get angry? She's probably laughing her dentures off right now. That's not how logic works. You can't say the villain isn't bad just because the result was good. The bullet screen suddenly erupted into an argument, becoming a chaotic mess. I could only scan through the pile of debates about the big villain bullying an old lady or not, trying to find comments about my brother. Only a few scattered lines lamented our cruel fate. The plot on the villain side is a complete mess now. The Ghost King doesn't eat people or care about love. He just wants to focus on raising Meow Meow. The male lead's plot, however, is proceeding normally. The heroine used an illusion to make him think his sister is really dead. Filled with grief and rage, he's focused solely on revenge, hunting demons everywhere with the heroine to find the Ghost King's trail. As he grows closer to the heroine, without even realizing it, his gaze is being drawn to this strong, hardworking junior sister. The male lead hasn't even noticed, but he's already subconsciously slowing his pace to wait for her to catch up. Exactly. When he saw her get injured earlier, he frowned more intensely than anyone. He carried her to the infirmary without a second thought. In reality, the heroine just sprained her ankle. But the male lead still treated it seriously. He even spent all night making a top-tier defensive talisman for her. After all, since losing his sister, he's become extremely sensitive. He treats even the slightest sign of danger with caution. It's sweet, but why do I feel a bit sad watching this? It feels like he's treating the heroine as a replacement, trying desperately to compensate for his sister. Moreover, the spiritual energy the sister sent out really did ring the wind chimes. But the male lead was too consumed by grief and thought it was just the wind. It's such a pity. Why do he and his sister always miss each other by a hair? Oh, stop it. The official couple is the best. It's good that the sister is gone. She shouldn't come back to bother them. They kept scrolling through my mind, but that one regrettable, sorrowful comment echoed for a long time. So, my brother did hear my last cry for help. But the male lead is destined to love the goddess, the heroine of destiny. So I must disappear from your world entirely. No matter how I struggle, the ending will not change. Hearing the demon's returning footsteps outside, I suddenly felt an immense exhaustion. Perhaps it's because of the long-term tension in the demon realm. Or maybe my will to survive, which had sustained me for so long, has finally collapsed at this moment. Even knowing that powerful ghost demon is about to push the door open, I just lowered my eyes in a daze, hugged my knees, and buried my head numbly. Fine, let it be. I should have realized long ago. Pei Miao is a character destined to die. A cliff where others never saw a demon after several trips. I'd encounter one the first time I went. Even if I followed the map strictly, taking the safest route step by step, I would somehow be led to a place where demons lurk. But when my brother saved me and checked the map was no longer the same as it was before. I was stunned, in disbelief, and at a total loss. I kept explaining to him that I hadn't wandered off, but he couldn't help but frown. His face cold, he scolded me, "You can't even read a map? Just stay at home from now on. Do you have any idea? Because I rushed to save you." A demon playing dead wasn't completely destroyed. It devoured a villager the moment I left. If Ying Yan hadn't stayed behind to clean up, that person would really be dead. Killed by you, by me. Killed by us together. Brother, I beg you, just listen for once. Stop causing more trouble for me, okay? My brother spoke through gritted teeth, his eyes full of disappointment and anger. On that cliff, he harshly shook off my hand. Every bit of annoyance on his face was highlighted clearly by the sunlight. I stumbled back into the shadows, looking up blankly, not daring to argue anymore. Light and shadow carved a distinct line between us. I don't know when it started, but an insurmountable gap had formed between the two people who used to be closest. Genius and waste, savior and burden, the labels put on us were always these polar opposites. It seemed even the sun felt we should have parted long ago. The desolate mountain wind blew silently, until my tears dried. I wiped my eyes hard, and took the initiative to break the long silence. Stepping out of the shadows, I picked up the communication jade my brother had just thrown down, and carefully wiped it clean, bit by bit. Then, approaching him, I cautiously sought reconciliation. "Brother, I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. I'll definitely be good. I'll come straight home after class from now on. And go nowhere else. I won't cause any more trouble for you. Brother, please don't be angry. Let's make up. A fragile waste like me should never have dreamed of exploring the vast world. If junior sister Chen asks me out for an outing again, I'll never let my heart soften and agree again. It's fine, I don't need friends. As long as I stay home obediently. And wait for my brother to come back. Having a brother is enough. But in the end, I still messed everything up. That day, senior brother Yin told me. Everyone had finished their alchemy assignment. And only I hadn't turned mine in. I was stunned and asked instinctively. Isn't the deadline next month? I remember it being the middle of next month. But senior brother Yin just snorted coldly, pointed at the clearly written words on the notice, and mocked me with a sneer. It's the end of this month. Stop your sister act. And save your tears. Playing the victim doesn't work on me. You can fool your brother, but not me. He said if I didn't turn in the medicine this time, I wouldn't be allowed to attend classes anymore. The only place I could catch a glimpse of the world's brilliance was about to be closed off to me, so that day, I was disobedient again. Ignoring the warnings, I took a bag full of talismans and entered the mountains alone. Perhaps this is my destined end. I knew I would definitely encounter demons. But I still took the chance. I thought the sex barrier was strict. And even if a minor demon had been overlooked, it shouldn't be a problem. I had a bag full of thunderfire talismans. Even if my aim was terrible, it should be enough to burn them alive. Everything went as I expected. I did encounter a small, snarling demon. And I successfully killed it with my prepared talismans. The moment the demon fell, I instinctively reached for the communication jade, wanting to proudly tell my brother. See? I'm not that much of a waste. I can't use a sword. But I can use talismans. I didn't embarrass you too much, did I? But I didn't expect that. The moment I took out the jade, junior sister Chen suddenly stumbled into the cave. She looked panicked, her body covered in bleeding wounds. I was stunned and rushed to support her. An indescribable bitterness in my heart. Ever since I stood her up on that outing, she had never come to find me again. She was the only one in the sect who had taken the initiative to be my friend. And yet I had lost that one precious friend. But when she saw me, she didn't seem to hold a grudge at all, smiling at me as gently as ever. Great. I finally found Meow Meow. She leaned weakly against me, and then leaned into my ear, whispering my name. Meow Meow. Run, quickly. The Ghost King is coming for you. The Ghost King pushed the door open. There was no sun in the demon realm, only pale moonlight across his face, reflecting the man's cold, red eyes. I didn't look up, and I didn't smile to please him as I usually did. I just leaned quietly in the corner, keeping my head down, letting my tears soak the rug. Chili hates weaklings. They say he loves eating women who cry at night. Crying again? Sure enough, seeing her tears, the demon immediately frowned. He stared at her in confusion. What's it for this time? Could it be because I was gone too long? Did some disobedient demon sneak in and scare her into crying? Damn it, it must be that rebellious Poria. That dead bird demon. Just because she has so many eyes on her wings, she thinks she can peek everywhere. She's so ugly. What if she scares Meow Meow to death? Humans are so easily scared to death. He frowned deeply, subconsciously reaching out to cover her teary eyes. His Meow Meow is like a little water spirit whenever he's not by her side. She just keeps crying. She thought he didn't know, but he saw through it perfectly. Meow Meow's heart can't leave him for a second. She loves him too much. This time, she wasn't even pretending anymore. Warm tears flowed incessantly onto his palm, and Chili's heart ached for her. He immediately brought the bowl of meat porridge to her, coaxing gently. Haven't I returned? I ran into some trouble while hunting, so I was delayed for a while. That mortal old man thought he was a beggar stealing food, and wouldn't let go of him, insisting he take another roast duck. His Meow Meow was almost starving to death. How could he have time to wait for a roast duck? The impatient demon had to smash the old man's broken pot with gold, and then left arrogantly. The vicious ghost Chili was just that brutal and unreasonable. The distance between the human realm and the demon realm is vast, yet the porridge was still warm. Chili squinted his eyes proudly, filling a large spoonful, and fed it to my lips himself. Don't cry, Meow Meow. Eat it while it's hot. After you're full, I'll play with you. Meow Meow. She really loves playing those firework games. She would occasionally draw a talisman and secretly blast him. The moment the talisman pierced through his flesh, Meow Meow's eyes would become exceptionally bright, as if suddenly filled with stars. He would look at her with such anticipation. Is she waiting for his praise? So cute, Chili couldn't help but curl his lips. Every time, he'd straighten his head and praise her seriously. My precious Meow Meow. I almost got blown to death by you. He wasn't lying at all. He is a vengeful ghost who has lived for nearly 3,000 years. Normally, an ordinary cultivator using all their strength couldn't even scratch his skin. But Meow Meow could blast his head off in an instant. Those pretty little fireworks were truly powerful. But when she heard his sincere praise, the light in her eyes would dim. She looked quite disappointed. She muttered under her breath, but you didn't die, did you? Meow Meow was a persistent and hardworking human. She became more courageous with every attempt. Knowing he was willing to play with her, she unscrupulously set off fireworks on him every day. Every time Chili straightened his severed head and regrew his mangled limbs, he thought nonchalantly, this is good. Meow Meow was improving very quickly. She wasn't weak at all anymore. She wouldn't just suddenly snap and die. There was even a time when Poria intentionally spread her eye-covered wings to scare her, only to be blasted upside down by her. Meow Meow was just like him. Mess with her and she'll blow you up. Chili couldn't help but mock the half-bald tail of Poria. Your luck has run out. How dare you provoke my Meow Meow? But Poria didn't laugh. She looked at him with a face full of sorrow and cursed hatefully. Brother, are you brain dead? She truly has the power to kill you now. The Ghost King paused for a moment, then curled his lips indifferently. So what? If she wants to kill me, let her. If I survive her attacks, it shows I'm strong. What was he smiling so smugly for? It was because he had taught her so well. Poria stared with wide eyes for a long time, looking like she was going crazy with rage. Suddenly, she sneered repeatedly, as expected of the strongest in the demon realm. After 3,000 years, your love brain hasn't changed a bit. I thought you'd change after dying once. I didn't expect you to be a woman's dog again. Good advice is hard to give to a ghost who wants to die. Are you waiting to be killed by her own hands? Poria left grumbling while holding her tail. Chili frowned thoughtfully. What did she mean by again? Could it be that besides Meow Meow, he had been someone else's dog before? How is that possible? With a cold face, he reached out and pulled out his memories, searching through them meticulously. He couldn't find any year or month where he had brought back another woman. Poria was definitely slandering him on purpose. He knew Meow Meow was hiding behind the wall listening, so she intended to drive a wedge between them. Chili was exasperated. He stuffed his memories back in and was about to chase after her, to pluck all the feathers off that dead bird. Meow Meow, don't listen to her nonsense. He felt truly wronged. He hurriedly grabbed her hands. In these 3,000 years, I have only ever been a dog for you. I was stunned for a moment by his aggrieved expression, then laughed nonchalantly. I believe you, of course. I smiled and gently hugged him. Ailey is the most honest puppy in the world. Chili lowered his eyes, irresistibly sinking into her embrace. He thought dizzily, oh no. Meow Meow has such methods. She doesn't even need to draw talismans. Just a soft smile can blow my heart to pieces. Chili was coaxed into seeing love bubbles everywhere. As soon as he was happy, he wanted to cook for me. Demons seem to have this habit. If they like someone, they want to keep their stomach full. He happily dashed to the kitchen. I also returned to the study, drawing talismans while watching the bullet comments. The villain says he hasn't had other women. So what's the deal with the female lead? Doesn't he lose his mind and eyes turn red when he sees her? Isn't that love? To be fair, the villain really never brought the female lead back to the demon realm, nor did he ever cook for her. And whenever he sees her, he automatically turns into his vicious ghost form. It looks more like hatred. Then why did he go to the human world to learn cooking before? He was just bored, probably. Anyway, Chili's plot has long since collapsed, so his character setting is probably different from the original book. The younger sister seems to have changed too, did you guys notice? Ever since the villain's cooking improved. She doesn't even try to escape anymore. She plays with the Ghost King like a dog every day. It feels quite sweet. I think she's just given up on trying. After all, no matter how much the Ghost King likes her, he won't let her return to the human world. Vengeful ghosts can't stand the sunlight. Besides, the male and female leads are already engaged. It would be awkward if the sister actually escaped back. The brother she loved since childhood has fallen for someone else. She might as well stay with the puppy Ghost King. Exactly. Before, everyone could bully her in the sect. But now she walks sideways in the demon realm. She can blow up whoever she wants. The wicked villain and the spoiled female supporting character are a match made in heaven. Chili and I. A match made in heaven. The pen tip paused. I looked up toward the door. That Ghost King was running over with food, his eyes curved in smiles. Baker's chicken. And jujube paste cakes. They're all things Meow Meow likes. I even snatched a few jars of peach blossom wine from Poria. That'll teach him for talking nonsense all day. The man piled the table full of food in front of me. His eyes were shining as he looked at me. I hesitated for a moment. Instead of taking the chopsticks he handed me, I turned his wrist over and pinched his fingertips. As expected, I felt some slightly raised scabs that hadn't fully healed. This idiot got burned again. Actually, Ghost Kings fear fire the most, yet he insisted on cooking for me every day. He always smiled when I blasted him, and never cried out in pain. His cooking really was getting better and better. I went back to the study to research new talismans, and Chili would quietly lean beside me and look at recipes. Despite being the high and mighty Ghost King, he always seemed very free, always able to stay by my side, until drowsiness washed over my eyelids. The moment I closed my eyes, the Ghost King beside me habitually picked me up in a princess carry. He took off my shoes and socks, undid my hair, and gently placed me on the bed. Chili, just as he was about to turn and leave, was caught by my finger. The man froze. For the first time, I asked him, stay and sleep with me, okay? He didn't refuse. How could he refuse? The moment the Ghost King hugged me, his inner thoughts exploded instantly. So soft, so soft, so soft. So fragrant, 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 so soft and fragrant. Then, do you want to eat me? Chili, I tilted my head back, gazing quietly into the Ghost King's blood-red eyes. I'm not skinny anymore. I took that cold hand and made him touch the flesh on my waist. It was from him feeding me mouthful by mouthful. The texture is quite good. So you can eat me now. Strangely enough, though the bullet comment said Chili was a man-eating ghost, I had never seen him kill or eat anyone. During these days, he had been by my side every single moment, and it seemed he hadn't eaten anything at all. After I asked that question, I saw the Ghost King's Adam's apple roll slowly. The red light in his eyes became even deeper. As expected, he does want to eat me, right? He gripped my wrist tightly, and sharp fangs suddenly protruded. I closed my eyes, but then he only dared to lightly poke my shoulder with them. It didn't hurt at all. I paused, and then heard the Ghost King's helpless inner voice. Darn meow meow. Trying to make me eat her again. Although I understand her desire for us to be one forever. How could I bear it? If only she could eat me instead. I want her stomach to only have me in it, forever and ever. I sighed, silently putting away the talisman tucked under the pillow. Fine, I won't blast him anymore. There are many ferocious demons in the world. So why bully one that doesn't eat people, and is a love-brained ghost? Besides, his cooking is really delicious. I'm going back to the human realm. He froze. Why? He gripped my hand. His voice muffled and low. Don't you want to stay here with me? I nodded honestly. That's right, I said with a smile. I'm so powerful now. I can't just keep using all my tricks on you. That would be a waste. Hearing this, the Ghost King suddenly frowned unhappily, staring at me resentfully. What do you mean? Who else do you want to blast? No, absolutely not. You can only blast me. I couldn't help but crinkle my eyes, pinching his dissatisfied face. Silly, I'd feel bad if you were in pain. I've already decided. I'm going to kill those villains who cause trouble in the human realm. Demons, after all, I am a cultivator. Saving the world. That is my mission. I gazed unblinkingly at this Ghost King, who shared my bed and pillow. What I want to kill are his own kind. What would he think? Regardless of what he thought, I was actually thinking in my heart that these small interludes are really annoying. I must win. I won't back down. If he tries to stop me, I will kill him without hesitation. The path I'm going to take won't be shaken by anyone. Pei Meow Meow had already been silent for a long time, enduring the bone-deep growing pains through clenched teeth. She finally walked out of that small room that had trapped her for so long, and saw the vast world that belonged to her. It turns out that by not begging anyone, you can gain true freedom. The Ghost King took my hand, his beautiful eyes still shining with love for me. Saving the world? Sure. He beamed. Then Meow Meow has to take me along. I'm actually quite good at saving the world. The terrifying Ghost King Chili, at whose name children stop crying, proudly recounted his past heroic deeds. I used to like wandering around the human realm. At night, I could always hear women in those villages and towns crying. Many were because they were insulted and beaten by their husbands. I thought those women were crying so miserably, or they were being forced into marriage by their families, crying and wanting to hang themselves. I couldn't help but take them all away and drop them off far away in other places. Some women had children and couldn't bear to leave alone, so I took their children away too. And then I'd throw a lot of gold at them. Then they would cry and say, "Thank you, immortal, for saving me." But the husbands and families of these women would all call me a vicious demon. Saving the world isn't easy either. So Meow Meow. Chili looked at me and said seriously, I want to accompany you. No matter where your path leads, I will follow you forever. From then on, a pure and passionate demon became Pei Meow Meow's first believer. So that's how the villain got the reputation of being an evil ghost who eats babies and women. Damn, I even cursed the villain before for being inhuman. I'm going to slap myself twice right now. Woo woo, I can't bear for the villain to die anymore. But the male lead has already broken into the demon realm. What do we do now? What else? Just wait for death. The villain may have done a few good things, but since he's an evil ghost, it means he must have killed many people before. Why are you guys in love with him again? Support the male lead in exorcising demons. The light of the righteous path. Just as Geely was hugging me with a smile, a massive explosion came from above. The next second, the roof beam suddenly collapsed. The Ghost King's eyes narrowed slightly as the heavy wood smashed onto the bed. A sword light broke through the air, radiating immense spiritual energy. Cold and sharp, it was Sushue. I was protected in Chili's arms, staring blankly at the man who stepped out of the light. My brother found me. How could things be so tragic? The sword cultivator Palin lowered his eyes, and the moment our gazes met, those eyes that never showed much emotion, suddenly turned red. To be honest, I had never seen my brother cry. This was the first time I saw him shedding tears. Calling my name with a trembling voice, meow meow. I'm sorry, brother is here. After 3 years, Palin looked more mature and cold than before. His sword aura was also sharper and more lethal. Before I could even react, a white flash swept past. Chi raised an eyebrow slightly, looking down at his left arm that had been sliced off on the ground. It was the hand that had just been holding Meow Meow. His strike was very fast and precise. Not harming Meow Meow in the least. He's got some skill. But are you sure you want to fight a ghost king on his own turf? Speaking unhurriedly, he shifted slightly and his left arm regrew in an instant. He smiled. You're seeking death, aren't you? Inside the demon realm, the ghost king's power will always stay at its peak. Infinite regeneration. Immortal and indestructible. In the original plot, he was only completely destroyed after being lured out by the female lead. Now my brother is just charging in with Sushue into the demon realm to start a war. I instinctively felt something was wrong. I reached out to hold back Chili, who was about to strike, and stared fixedly at the woman behind my brother. Jin Yomiao was looking down at me. Without a hint of her past gentleness, her eyes were filled with nothing but naked disgust. Your name is Pei Meow Meow? Wow, what a coincidence. Our names sound so much alike. Can I be in the same group as you? It's okay if Meow Meow doesn't have a spiritual root. I don't care about group grades. I just want to be with Meow Meow. Meow Meow, don't always stay cooped up at home. You should come out and play more. I'll take you on an outing and go shopping. Don't worry. The places we go are all within the barrier. It's very safe. Meow Meow, run quickly. The demon is coming to get you. If back then I hadn't been blinded by the joy of making a friend, I might have noticed that Jin Yomiao was a bit off from the very beginning. She was the one who smilingly leaned on me. And when I was first rescued from danger, she just stared at me silently from the side, muttering something under her breath. Just like now. She looked down coldly at me standing in front of Chili, curled her lips, and said, so hard to kill. At this moment, the crisis is alerted. Everyone is waiting for a turning point. I will hold my ground. She was saying these words. The bullet comments appeared at this moment. It's bad. The male and female lead's plot has collapsed. The male lead learned from the Ghost King that his sister wasn't dead. And he left the female lead at their engagement banquet to find her. The female lead really is just a stand-in for the sister. If that's the case, what's the point of the official couple? The villain is much better than this. The author might as well just delete the female lead. What's the point of her existing? She's just a camera accessory for the male lead anyway. Agree, +1+1. A few seconds after these comments appeared, Jin Yomiao's body seemed to become a bit transparent. It turned out their words actually had power. She raised her hand, also noticing the strange transparency of her body. Yet there was no surprise in her eyes at all. As if she had experienced this situation many times before. As long as Pei Meow Meow doesn't die, Jin Yomiao will be erased. That's why she went to such lengths to kill me first. Unfortunately, she never succeeded. She even intentionally lured over a 1,000-year-old Ghost King, but didn't expect that even the Ghost King would fall in love with me. What a lucky fate. Jin Yomiao gritted her teeth, intense resentment overflowing. She gripped the child heart jade hanging around her neck, as if grasping her only life-saving straw. And the moment Chili saw that jade, his pupils suddenly constricted into vertical slits. Both eyes turned red, just as they were when I first met him. The terrifying villain still turns into his vicious ghost form as soon as he sees the female lead. Just what kind of deep hatred is this? The aura of the ghost beside me grew heavier and heavier, and his uncontrollable inner voice was fiercely repeating a few phrases. The jade was stolen. Meow Meow will hate me, Meow Meow won't be able to find me. Take it back, kill her. Meow Meow will come back. The moment the vicious dog lunged at Jin Yomiao, the brother's sword was already striking. Sushua's light flashed in his eyes. My heart was incredibly nervous at this moment. I wanted to escape from here quickly. I must live. I won't accept this fate. The sword aura swept past, cutting a deep gash before Jin Yomiao. But it didn't hit anything because I had hugged the furious Chili from behind, leaning on his back and sighing helplessly. Alright. Ailey, be good. Am I not right here by your side? The terrifying ghost who had lost his sanity instantly became motionless. LMAO, the sister is still training the dog. The villain's eyes cleared up instantly. The villain, oh, right. The vicious dog just listens to its master like that. You wait to the side for a bit. I need to have a few words with my brother. I raised my hand and rubbed Chili's head. And sure enough, the ghost in front of me instantly crinkled his eyes, his expression becoming bashful. He glanced at that jade again, but still obediently stood behind me. I took a deep breath, and looked up to meet my brother's eyes, which had been staring this way the whole time. I felt a moment of daze. 3 years ago, I spent every day in bitter fantasies, thinking that when my brother finally found me, I would definitely throw a huge tantrum of grievance. I'd tell him that since he didn't reply to my messages and ignored me on purpose, now he sees what happens, right? He really couldn't find me. If I hadn't been lucky enough to encounter a love-brained idiot ghost, he might really never have seen me again. Back then, these words were stifled in my heart. Stifled until my heart hurt. But there was no one I could tell, so they could only turn into endless tears. I think at that time, I hated my brother. I had started to hate him long ago. But every time he brushed me off, every time he pushed me away, every time his friends mocked me, well, he turned a deaf ear. And in those moments he found me a burden. I couldn't help but hate him a little. And hate myself even more. Why was he a genius? Well, I was just a waste? Why was I always a drag on him? Why could I never leave him? These unspeakable grievances were like damp moss, growing in the depths of my heart for a long, long time. I had been waiting for the day my brother would find me, so I could vent all my hatred, and all my overwhelming grievances. Because I knew my brother loved me, so he would surely catch me, and all my sorrows, until I saw him fall in love with someone else. In the 7th month after my disappearance, he fell for Chinyomyo. As if to forget the past, even the tassel on Sushiue had been replaced. My brother gazed at me from afar, suddenly sheathing Sushiue. He spoke first, breaking the silence. Meow meow, he called out softly, his voice hoarse, his eyes rimmed with red. I'm sorry, meow meow. I came too late. Brother was wrong. Brother. I suddenly interrupted his apology. There was no grievance, nor any hate. My brother froze. I walked over and took the initiative to hug him gently. He was stunned. I would no longer hate the brother who had protected me so many times. If he hadn't brought me home, I would have starved to death in some corner of Lihua village long ago. If he hadn't brought me into the Qinglu sect, I would never have seen the wonders of immortal magic in my life. If he hadn't saved me time and time again. When I spoke, my voice was unusually calm. Brother. Thank you. You still came. Even knowing he might die in the demon realm. Pei Jinzhua still rushed here with his sword, regardless of everything. That was enough. I thought, this is good. I have finally grown up. When my brother heard my words, he couldn't even hold his sword steady. It's because I'm useless. His voice was raspy. The tears Pei Jinzhua had held back for years finally poured down once again. Meow meow, let's go home. I'll make you Christian carp soup. He would never forget again. Chili, who had been waiting aside, suddenly spoke up, breaking the bittersweet atmosphere between me and my brother. He tilted his head, frowning in annoyance. Meow meow doesn't like fish. She likes roast chicken. The Ghost King's eyes curved into crescents. As he stared at me with a happy grin, Pei Jinzhua's expression turned cold again. He raised his hand. Step back. I quickly held him back. Brother, wait. The reason we met back then wasn't because of Chili. I looked behind Pei Jinzhua. At Chinyomyo, who had been staring at us coldly. Her body was becoming more and more transparent. On the verge of vanishing, she finally dropped her disguise. She stopped acting. Why won't you just die? In the human world, you have your brother protecting you. In the demon realm, even a vicious ghost falls for you. Why are you so lucky? Clearly, I am the female lead. I am the true protagonist of this book. Why is it always me who disappears in the end? Why? She questioned me frantically. I thought about it for a moment. Maybe because this is a cultivation novel that promotes the righteous path. If a protagonist becomes wicked, just because of a slight deviation in the plot, doesn't think about saving the world, and instead resorts to murdering her own kind, then she doesn't deserve to be the protagonist. Chinyomyo, you could have had your own grand path of cultivation. I always envied your spiritual roots. Your comprehension and talent are far better than mine. But you were stubbornly fixated only on the deviating plot. Just because the male lead didn't fall for you, you wanted to kill me. I find it absurd. Cultivators are supposed to save the world. It's because you first abandoned your heart of cultivation that the world decided to abandon you. It's karma. Landing in this situation is all because of the evil seeds you sowed yourself. You brought this on yourself. Stop blaming me. After she completely vanished, I never saw the bullet comments again. I followed my brother back to our home in the Qinglu sect. The furnishings in the house were the same, no different from when I left. Even the clothes in my bedroom that I didn't have time to fold remained in their original messy state. I pursed my lips and walked out, seeing that my brother had already put the food on the table. He lowered his eyes and called out softly, meow meow. Time to eat. On the table was Christian carp soup. The wild vegetable pancakes were placed right in the center. My brother filled my special small clay bowl to the brim. I took a sip, narrowing my eyes in satisfaction. Brother's cooking is still as good as ever, I said with a chuckle, only to see that my brother was crying again. He seems to be more of a crybaby than me now. On the way back from the demon realm, he looked at me and cried several times. I quickly grabbed a tissue for him and sighed. Brother, haven't I already come back? He lowered his eyes, wiped them, and suddenly took out a new communication jade slip. Placing it on the table, the one you used before was too old. The sound would crackle. And the delay was bad. This is a new model. It won't lag. There's also an emergency mechanism at the bottom. If you press it, I can come to you immediately. Pei Jinzhua could not lose his sister again. He absolutely could not accept it. I held the jade slip. My feelings complex. And just softly hummed, thanks, brother. But, did you know that I'm now the one going to save people? I shook another flashing jade slip in my hand. That vicious ghost's panicked voice immediately came through. Meow meow, help. Someone just passed by here. Glanced at me. And fainted from fright. Then for some reason, a bunch of people on flying swords started attacking me. I'm so misunderstood. The voice message ended. I immediately finished the rice in my bowl in a few bites. Under my brother's complex gaze. I rushed out excitedly. Hey, if I don't go now, the puppy is going to get beaten up badly. I curled my lips and didn't look back. Pushing the door open. And happily heading towards my vast world.